Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Born to Innovate podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Sam Zellner. If you don't know who he is, Sam is the founder and CEO of Inspireip, one of the world's leading firms in the intellectual property space. Thanks for joining us here today, Sam.
Thank you, Sid, for this opportunity. Look forward to discussing innovation, what I love and passionate about.
Let's do it, Sam. So, first question for the people who don't know you, what's your background like and how did you even get into this space?
Sure. So I was on the technical side within AT&T for many years, and in that process, I got a lot of patents, and so much so that the intellectual property group said, "Sam, you've been through this process quite a bit. What about joining the team and helping us build the portfolio?" And so I came over, I led a team. We engaged the employees to get their ideas. We helped them shape them and decide whether to pursue them in patent protection. And then we worked with the legal group to get them structured the way we wanted. And then we worked with the sales and licensing group to help monetize them, package them up into opportunities, whether it's to contribute to a standard, you know, license the patents, or in some cases we sold them to big players like Google, IV, Microsoft, lots of different people.
That's interesting. So, can you expand on like what kind of patents were you building?
Well, AT&T obviously in the telecommunications area, so we did a lot within, Wi-Fi. We had some key patents there, and obviously 4G, 5G patents area. But we also had other things in just networking, in video distribution systems, all the things you would expect from a telecom company.
So, it sounds like you were one of the early innovators of like network engineering that we all use nowadays. Is that true?
Well, I'm not sure, but yeah, I did a lot in the wireless area. I was very passionate about the wireless area, and one of the things that I did a lot is filing in location-based services. Again, these things seem obvious at the time. I mean, obvious now, but at the time it was a new thing. We were doing location-based services for 911. It was a big problem. People would dial 911 with their cell phone, and 911 had no idea where the person was, and so there was a real need. Most people, don't have time when it's an emergency to explain exactly where they are. So that's why there was a push to get location-based services. And once it was coming in, it was, it seemed very obvious that there are a lot of opportunities to do that for targeted marketing, traffic, all kinds of different things.
That's interesting. And then, so you got a lot of patents over at AT&T. Then you went on to start your own company. Did you always see yourself being an entrepreneur, or how did you get your company off the ground in those early stages?
Well, I think inventors naturally always think of themselves as entrepreneurs, but there's a big difference between coming up with an idea and running a business, for sure. But I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm passionate, and in my case, it's sort of ironic. I'm entrepreneur about innovation, and so it's sort of different that way. But there was two things I got involved with that really. First one was I started when I was at AT&T, and that is what I noticed when I was an inventor, and then when I worked with other inventors, is it's really hard to know whether your idea is novel or not. And again, if you're going to try and patent it, it has to be original. Nobody could have said, described the idea before you. And so it's very hard at the time. We were using Boolean search engines, so trying to find the key word. If you're saying wireless, is it a wireless phone? Is it a mobile phone? Is it a cell phone? There's so many different names for the same thing. And with Boolean searching, you have to create very complex search strings to be able to do it effectively. So 5 years ago, we were looking at this and we saw AI coming out. And we thought, hey, this is a real opportunity. AI can solve this big problem. They make searching much easier for anybody to do. And then also, when we were in the wireless side, we started using open source for different things. And in this case, I saw the fact that searching for prior art, is what we call it in the field, was not really anybody's domain, so to speak. It just helps everybody. So we thought, well, why not make it open source So this tool could be one transparent, so people could see it's not biased, and then everybody could contribute to it, make it better. Um, and not taking a side of pro patents or anti patents, but I think everybody would say patent quality and better patent quality is good for everybody. And so that's why we started PQAI. It's patent quality, artificial intelligence. And AT&T was nice enough to let me lead it after I retired. So if you go to projectpq.ai, we have the search engine there, and you can search. It's completely confidential. We understand that these are your ideas, and we are not looking at anybody's ideas that goes in, and we don't keep any record of them or anything like that. But it's a simple system in which you can get a feeling for whether your idea is novel or not. We have U.S. patents, worldwide patents in there, plus a large corpus of non-patent literature. So it will give you, I think, a fairly good idea of whether there's something out there that's close to your idea. And my feeling was not only does that help corporate inventors, but it also helps independent inventors. I hate to see independent inventors engage with a patent attorney, spend a lot of money only to find out their idea wasn't novel at all. People already developed it, years ago, and so they've wasted money. So I'm hoping that this tool will help those people save their money and focus in on ideas that are novel. And I tell people, even if your idea is already there, that's a sign that you're looking at the right type of problems. If somebody already solved that problem, they saw the problem, you saw the problem, it's great. You're just a little behind the curve. But then what I would say, look at what they did in their patent to solve the problem and say, okay, what's the next generation? How can I make this even better? And then you can try and go for a patent on that. So don't be discouraged if you see something there, but that's a tool that's there. The other piece I did was, which is really my for-profit company, is I focused on capturing innovation from typically members of an organization, the employees. I felt like it wasn't done well. I feel like that employees have lots of great ideas. They just don't know that the companies always want them. And there's a good process to do that. And so no shortage of great ideas. There's lots of great ideas. We got to engage the people the right way to get them. And so that's what Inspireip does. We provide a platform to engage your employees to get the ideas and put them through a process to either go for patent protection, if that's what you're trying to do, or to implement them within the company and make the company better.
That's a real gem right there, PQ.ai. So anyone here who's wanting to start a new business or has a new product idea, be sure to check that out. So
if you want to patent it, just to be clear, if you want to patent it, and even if you don't want to patent it and you're just curious who's in that space, it's a good way to see what's going on in that space.
So I want to dive a little bit more into, you mentioned artificial intelligence, which is the field that I work in, and we're seeing it transform a ton of industries. So would you say the recent advancements in AI technologies has helped or hurt your business, and in what ways?
Oh, I think it's helped my business, but like you said, and especially in the legal area, people are very hesitant and very nervous, just like I think any technology. People are always worried. Remember, it sounds like a joke now, but remember, people were worried about cloud services. Like, oh, I'm going to take it from outside my firewall and put it in the cloud, but no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be the guy who just gave away all the corporate secrets and put them in the cloud and found out anybody can get access. So we're going through that same process here, and people have reason to believe, or be concerned. Now, the legal side, it gets a little more complicated because now not only do you have the issue of security with AI, but also if you, depending on how you're using it, it could be the issue of inventorship too. So it's a little more complicated than maybe some other fields, but it is coming. I think like all fields, you better be planning on AI. It's not a question of if, it's just when. And I encourage companies to engage in it earlier so you get to understand it and understand the dangers and how it fits in. And the interesting thing I tell people, I feel, and I'd be curious if I said what you think. I think of AI as the new employee who is raring to go, who is a smart employee, but just wants to please you. And so if that means making up something to please you, that's maybe what the new employee will do. So that's how I see it.
So there's a topic I've been reading some articles about, and there's like a gray area when it comes to intellectual property when it comes from AI. Like, say for example, if if you were to write a book and then I trained the AI model on the book you wrote to write my own book or create my own product off that, that creates like a gray area of like, really, is that original or is it not? Have you dealt with that challenge, and like how do you deal with it?
That's a copyright issue. We don't really run into that as much in what we're doing, but there's the issue of like I mentioned, inventorship. If you're working with the AI tool to come up with an idea, a lot of people are concerned that was AI the inventor. So there's that. So in a similar way, I think just like you got to worry about copyright, you need to worry about inventorship. So I think and then of course people, there's a classic case of attorneys using it in a legal case where they use AI to reference a case, and it turned out the AI made up the case. So again, I think anybody who's thinking about using AI, make sure you use it in an area where the technology, the space very well, so you can identify and realize that maybe AI doesn't have things completely accurate.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's only as good as the data that you teach it with or that you train it with. So let's move a little bit from the AI topic into what you're up to nowadays in the business. Can you share a bit more about like what your role and what your day-to-day looks like nowadays?
Sure. So we work with a lot of big corporates, and like any SaaS tool, corporates tend to change. They have customization, so we work with a lot of their needs to customize. And there's with any software, there's a tension there, because how do you make money in software? You do it by scale, right? And the more people want to customize, that goes against your scale. Obviously you can make money by doing customization and charging for hourly rate, so to speak, for customization. But that's not really where you make your big margins. Your big margins are being able to take the code and reuse it, sell it again for somebody else. And so I think that's always a tension for any sort of SaaS business, is how do you not get yourself into a lot of customization and to scale? So that's one of the things we're always challenged with, is how much do we do in terms of customization to keep the customer happy, and how much can we get them onto a similar track? And then I would say the other piece that takes up a lot of my time is security these days. Security is a huge issue for everybody, and the bar is constantly going up and up and up, and that's very hard. Plus regulations. We do things in Europe, we do things in the US, and there's different regulations there in terms of personal information and other items like that. So I think that's another piece that gets very hard, and in some ways gets difficult in terms of scaling and doing efficiency. In Europe now, they're starting to, for AI, they want it to be within Europe. And so now, how do you not get into a situation where you're replicating servers all over the world? It's a hard thing.
Got it. So a lot of people who follow me are either engineers and builders themselves or founders of SaaS companies. So what does your ideal customer look like? Who should reach out to you if they need help?
I think the ideal customer is sort of, I'll say, a wide gamut space. If you're a very small company, then you'll be using PQAI to figure out your idea is novel or not. And I encourage people, if you're starting off a company, take advantage of the provisional system. Provisional system can protect you at some level at a very inexpensive cost. And I know a lot of patent attorneys out there will say, hey, Sam, provisional is not a patent. It's just a placeholder. I understand that. But for a small startup company, you can't always afford to spend $20,000 on a patent filing. So this allows you to have some protection, because you're going to have to talk to your vendors. You're going to talk to your customers about your products and what you're doing. And you want to try and have some level of protection. Obviously, NDAs give you some level of protection, but really, you need some, your secret sauce. You want to try and either have a patent, trademark, trade secret, or something to protect you. It's a hard game, right? Um, the when you start growing, then I'd say you need to start thinking about Inspireip, because once you start getting over 10 people, all of a sudden now the company starts getting bigger. I used to talk to the CEO, but now there's a person in between. Now there's two people in between. And as much as the CEO and upper management thinks, oh yeah, of course, everybody should be sharing their ideas and all that. Let's face it, it's human dynamics. You start getting more people in, people have, opinions, personalities, and all that. And now the flow of ideas and the flow of information coming to upper management gets filtered. And by having a structured process in which people can um, share their ideas and share their observations will help upper management significantly understand how the company is doing, how efficient it is, what's working, what's not. Now, you got to be very careful. Everybody thinks that innovation is a clean process. It is not a clean process. It's messy. And that's why we help people do it the right way. Some of the classic mistakes are, one is, don't worry, if you have an idea, just tell your manager. Well, guess what? Manager, if it's within his or her organization, sure, that works. But if it's outside their organization, they don't know who to go to. They don't really want to be bothered. They're focused on their organization. So they said, just don't worry about it right now. I know that the product people, the delivery people, or whatever, are taking broken things and just putting them in boxes and shipping them out to customers, but let's just not worry about that. They'll worry about it, or who knows what. And so you just lose those ideas. Also, the other thing is you like I said, you assume people want your ideas. They don't always know that. So if there isn't a process, they'll just assume, no, nobody really wants to hear my opinion. So I'll just keep it to myself, even though we could save $1 million doing this. Why would I say anything? So they don't know that. And then also, you got to be careful when people come up with ideas. Don't assume that one idea is ready for prime time. It typically is not. There's things about it. There may be legal issues, there may be manufacturing issues, whatever. So ideas, little seeds of good ideas are not always finished. And so you need a group that's willing to say, hey, there's a good idea here. We need to polish it, make it ready so the company can adopt it. A lot of times I tell people what happens is the risk level on a new idea is too high for the general company to adopt. So you need an organization that's comfortable working with new ideas to be able to bring that risk level down, so it's level that the company can say, oh, okay, we can take it in. AI is a good example. The company might not adopt AI. Why not? Because it's way too risky and they don't have time. They got to get things done. So you need a group to help work with AI and say, this is how we could utilize AI. And a lot of times you really need somebody who's in the business, who's working at something that says, I think AI could help us right here, but I don't know enough of it, but I think. And that's where you need that person to say, well, what do you think? How do you think AI could help? I was thinking AI could do the following tasks automatically. Takes us, an hour, 2 hours a week to do this. AI probably could do it in, 10 minutes. That's what you need. Also, keep in mind when new ideas come up, not only are they tend to be a little bit rough, but they usually break assumptions that everybody has. And because they break assumptions everybody has, that's why nobody else has seen them. I tell people, all inventors do is they take that assumption that's blocking everybody's vision and they pull away and say, hey, can we do this? I'll just give you a simple example. But again, these things always seem obvious because you don't have this block anymore. But back in the day, when I was at AT&T, people were saying, hey, something? We could use a cell phone instead of a landline phone for our home phone. Now, today that sounds, yeah, of course, why not? But back in the day, people were like, you can't do that. People would never accept that. Cell phone quality is terrible. No, why would anybody no, people would never give up their landline phone for a cell phone. Would never happen. Well, obviously we know it does happen. It was a huge, change. but at the time. So don't assume that good ideas, just everybody will say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. It usually breaks an assumption everybody has. People don't like to break their assumptions, particularly ones that have been going on for a long time. And so it's uncomfortable. So that's, again, why you need a process and a program to help give voice to good ideas. So that's where we provide Inspireip. It's a very light, efficient system to help you do that. And so if you go to inspireip.com, we have a demo that we can do for you. We also, if you want to do a DIY capability, we have that too available for you. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Sam Zellner, Sam-Zellner Inspireip. So you can do that.
You brought up a lot of great points, and I've also noticed that as well, especially in larger companies. I've noticed they're so hesitant to bring on new tech advancements, and they get stuck in that loop of like analysis paralysis instead of just taking action. And that can be the downfall of some of these companies. They get left behind when new tech takes over. So can you also share with the viewers, like what kind of results are the companies that you're working with getting from working with you?
I think a number of different results. One, obviously they get very good ideas that are moving forward. And one company, actually, it was interesting. They had a customer that wanted to use their products, and I'll say it was noise. It wasn't noise, but the customer said, listen, we're in an environment where it can't make a lot of noise. But their product always made a lot of noise. Everybody was used to the fact that it made noise. They said, but where we're using it, it can't make a lot of noise because of these reasons. And so the company normally would just take it back to product management and say, hey, we got a customer wants our product that makes a lot of noise to not make a lot of noise. But instead, they put it out as a challenge to all their engineering teams. And a couple of things happened. One is the engineering team, because they weren't really doing challenges like this, they did this challenge. The engineering teams got excited because they don't usually get something like this. It was different. And rather than just hearing, hey, we need a product that doesn't make a lot of noise, they got the whole story from the customer as to why they didn't want it to make a lot of noise. And of course, it made a lot of sense. And so they got excited about it. And they got a lot of ideas coming back. They even got what surprised the company. This one business unit did the challenge. What they were surprised at was another business unit that they didn't really invite. And this is why I tell everybody, invite everybody to challenges for two reasons. One is you don't know where a good idea will come from. I know typically it comes from this group, but sometimes it comes from all kinds of places. And so in this case, it came from another business unit that says, hey, we're doing something in our business unit that sort of applies to what you're doing there. And I think this solution could work in your situation. So it was a huge win. They were surprised that this other business unit even got involved in the challenge. The other thing that maybe I think is equally important is a lot of the employees felt really excited about the company for two reasons. One is they're like, wow, we're doing innovative stuff here, talking and working with customers this way. And they shared it with me. So I now feel part of the company. And some of the guys said, something, this is an area that we didn't know anything about, not our area. But it gave us something to talk about at lunchtime, which was a lot of fun. And it was nice to hear what the company's doing. So this is another way to inspire people, the culture of feeling a part of the company. So there's more benefits, and educating. I tell people, you're educating the employees too about what our strategy is, what's important to us, how to be thinking about problems, because obviously they said, listen, not only do you need to fix the noise problem, but by the way, we can't let the cost go up because customers are not going to buy it if it costs too much. So there's a lot of wins here, and that's where I encourage companies not only to take what I'll call push ideas. So say you come up with an idea, I want to push it, you want to push it on me, so to speak. That's good. That's helpful. You always want that. But I think more importantly, you also want to pull ideas. You want to pull ideas in areas where you want more innovation to happen. That's by doing challenges, by working with the business unit. So that's why our platform has the ability to both take ideas that are pushed and also pull ideas from your employees.
That's powerful. So it's not only helping on the patent side of things, but also with empowering your employees to be more capable, achieve more, and in turn empower the entire company.
Yeah, it changes the culture of the company, which is critical and hard these days. And just you can't necessarily pay everybody what they want all the time, and so you got to make it a work environment that's very stimulating. And for some people, it's not about the money; it's about the stimulation.
Definitely for me, and I've noticed. So we've talked a lot about all your wins and successes. So I want to move into what do you see as like the challenges as a founder in your space for maybe like an aspiring entrepreneur?
Well, I think right now, and I'm sure for all the companies out there, the challenge is which direction you go. How do you structure your products and services the way to fit customers? I think with AI and other technology, there's so much you can do, but you can't, as a small company, you can't do everything. You need to pick and figure out what your wins are. And you also need to be careful because I think sometimes when the wins don't come immediately, you want to shift and you say, okay, this didn't work. Let's quickly go to this. And you can't keep moving around. You got to stay with some things and figure out why it's not working. And, you know, somebody wrote, and I apologize for not being able to remember the person, but, they talked about understanding how a small company evolves. And they said, okay, well, first you sell it to your friends. And then the next big step is you sell it to somebody you don't know. And the next big step from an entrepreneur standpoint is I don't sell it, but somebody on the sales team sells it. So that whole idea is now you can actually sell without the founder or without the core person there. That migration, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. Um, but I think you got to in the beginning really get to feel, and this is cliche now, understand your customers, understand how they're thinking about it. How do they describe the problem you're solving? Because so many times it's amazing how I'll say something and then you'll say, no, Sam, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this. And I'll say, that's what I said. But no, you used some key words that resonated with you. I didn't use those words. So I'm talking about something totally different. So you got to figure out what are the key words. How do people describe the problem? Do they, what do they say about it? It's a, do they say it's a gap? It's a technology problem. It's a communications problem. Whatever terms they use, you need to know those terms because that's what your customers are going to expect. And like I said, you describe it without those terms, they're going to think you're talking about something else.
Makes sense. So now that we know what you've been up to in the current state, let's talk about your vision. So where do you see you and your company going in the next like 6 to 12 months?
Well, I really have two separate visions here. I'm a little schizophrenic. For PQAI, that's the prior art search engine, we are trying to get people to engage with it, not only using it on the platform, but like any open source, deploying it in different places because we're trying to build a network out there. So I'm excited about that. I'm hoping at some point we could actually get a patent office interested in using it. But that's the big vision there. On Inspireip, we're hoping that more people will get more comfortable with AI because we're integrating AI into all phases of our platform. And I think that's very exciting. We have a couple new pieces coming out here that I think will really be exciting about how AI can help make that whole innovation experience even better. And so the next 6 months, I think it's going to be exciting for these new products. And I encourage people to keep an eye on it. And if you like AI, if you're willing to be at the cutting edge of AI, reach out to me because we've got a lot of products that we're looking for customers to be beta customers on. I think it's going to be really exciting.
So for both the PQ AI and the Inspire IP side, what do you see as the main challenge to make that vision into a reality?
They're very different. So on the PQAI side, that really is we need to get more recognition that the platform is very powerful. It can do incredible job. And the bigger vision, like I said, of building a network out of it will be a game changer. And it's the idea of not having one single source for all information, but to actually have a distributed, federated network of information and knowledge that can go out to everybody. That's a different way of thinking about it. I'm hoping that people will come on board with that and see that. Then all of a sudden, I tell people, the patent business right now is very flawed. The analogy would be if you were in the real estate and it worked like patents, it'd be like, hey, I have a house for sale, Sid, and it has 3 bedrooms. Well, maybe 2 bedrooms, maybe 1 bedroom. I don't know how many bedrooms it has because the patent office and there's a debate on it. And oh, by the way, Sid, I don't even know if I own it because there seems to be debate on that. That's where we are with the patent world right now, and it's really, I think, it's hurting everybody. So that's one piece. For Inspireip. I think that we can probably do a lot more in terms of getting people engaged with innovation and seeing that it should be more acceptable and a critical piece. I think in that case, I love analogies. I think of innovation as exercise, and everybody's sitting on the couch saying, "Hey, that's it. Yeah, I agree with you. I should get some exercise, but right now I'm on the couch and I got a lot to do, but tomorrow I'll exercise, or whenever my competition starts wanting to race me, then I'll get off the couch and I'll run with them." And it's like, we know that exercise doesn't work that way, and innovation doesn't work that way. It takes time to get your process going. You can't wait. It's critical because by the time your doctor says, "Wow, you're in critical shape. Your heart is blocked," doing an exercise program pretty late in the game then. So I encourage people, start exercising, start your innovation program now.
That's interesting. So do you think that's a industry-wide issue, or it's something that's unique to your business?
Well, when you say industry-wide issue, here's the thing that's interesting. There was a study done that said that a very large percentage, 80% or more of executives realize they need to have an innovation program. But when they asked them, "Well, how's your innovation program?" only 6% said they were satisfied with their innovation program. So big gap there. I wouldn't doubt in other industries there are problems like this where there's recognition that there's a problem, there's recognition of a need, and there's also recognition that it's not working. And that could be procurement, it could be lots of different areas. And so if you're a business starting up in one of those areas, you need to recognize that maybe there is recognition that they should be doing it and they're not doing it well. Again, like exercise. So it can be a little bit tricky. Yeah, Sam, I know I should have IP. I know I should have an innovation program, but we got a lot of things to do today, and I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll worry about it later. It's just not on my priority list. But it's a challenge that way, and I think that I'm not unique. I think a lot of businesses that are starting up are finding that they see a problem. Everybody recognizes the problem, but nobody's willing to worry about it because maybe it's just not high enough on the priority list. And maybe what you got to do is, one, make sure they appreciate how important it is, and make sure you show them that, listen, it is not as much work to do as you might think, and you can start and get going and manage it with all the other priorities you have.
That's interesting. So it sounds like most companies don't realize it's a problem until it's too late and it's already causing damage. I find that very interesting because when you talked about that, I was thinking about Google, because Google for years was the most desirable tech company to work for. They're the peak of innovation. And from like the friends and acquaintances that I've talked to who have worked at Google, they're telling me how in the modern day it's the complete opposite of that, because it's grown too much to the point where it's now like complete corporate bureaucracy, and that environment of innovation is completely gone.
Well, you start getting too big, you start getting friction, as I was telling you about. More degrees of freedom from you to the upper management, the harder it is to get innovation going. I like to use the analogy, or not the analogy, the image of cell phone providers. I mean, not to date myself, but when I started, Nokia was the big cell phone provider, and nobody thought there could be any other cell phone. Actually, even before that was Motorola. Sorry, Motorola was the king of cell phones. Nobody was going to knock them out. Nokia comes up, knocks them out. Then what happens? Then Palm comes in, then, and finally Apple gets here. And of course, now everybody's thinking, no, nobody will knock out Apple, or nobody will knock out Samsung. But, this is where these things people get, they get, too heavy, too big, too bureaucratic. And all of a sudden a startup, a new player gets innovative, and boom. And like I said, you can't sit on the couch and just think you can get off the couch and run a marathon with somebody. It doesn't happen that way. You got to be in shape if you're going to do it.
Got it. Well, I learned a ton from this episode. I think we can wrap things up. So for any viewers who are maybe aspiring entrepreneurs or who already have established businesses and want to work with you, what's the best way for them to reach out with you and connect with your company?
I'd say, well, if you want to reach out to me directly, direct message me on LinkedIn, Sam Zellner, at Inspireip, or, Sam Zellner at Innovation. Or you can reach out to our website, inspireip.com, and we have queries there that you can contact us that way. And if you're interested on the PQI side, again, you can reach out that way and contact us that way. We'd love to work with you guys or answer any questions that anybody has about innovation.
Thanks a bunch, Sam, for sharing all your wisdom. I'm going to put links to both Inspireip and Sam's profile in the description for any of you who want to work with him. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next episode.
Thank you, Sid. I appreciate the opportunity.
It was awesome. All right.